Hey everyone, it's Matt with Redline Studios here in New York City with another Film and Television Tuesday tip. Tuesday tips are all about giving advice to young filmmakers out there that derive from the experiences I've encountered on sets, in edit rooms, and in pitch meetings throughout my career. Today's Tuesday tip topic is how I create sound effects and Foley. Before we dive too deep into this, let's look at what even is sound design and Foley. Sound design is everything you hear in a film that isn't dialogue or music. So, things like footsteps, wind, punches, engines, room tone, atmosphere, all of that is sound design. Foley is the process of physically recreating those sounds in sync to picture. Footsteps on gravel, clothing movement, a body hitting the ground. Back in the day, this meant a Foley stage, a performer, a mic, and lots of props. It was very hands-on, very real-time, and expensive. Today, sound design has changed. We still use performance and realism, but we also have massive digital sound libraries and tools that let us manipulate sound in ways that weren't possible in the years and decades before. Instead of just recording a footstep, we can build one from layers, pitch it, stretch it, distort it, and completely reinvent it. This shift made sound design accessible to editors like myself, and it also made originality harder. I remember when I first started editing, I made one of the classic mistakes, shortchanging my audio when it came to sound design and Foley. One reason I personally steered away from it was access. When I was just starting out, we didn't have the sound libraries that we do today. The more and more that I started to edit for clients, I noticed one thing that was consistent. They all severely lacked vision. If it wasn't there, they couldn't see it or hear it or preconceive it. This became difficult because it used to be that an offline editor had a certain job, get things in a pretty good spot, and then it would go through stages, sound design, mix, score, musical composition, then balancing, leveling, and re-recording. But I found that clients giving notes on my offline edits were often born out of an inability to see what was coming next. For example, a moment of silence waiting for the sound designer to add an explosion felt like an incredibly long pause. And so then the client had you cut it out, leaving the sound designer with no room to work. And so notes started to come into the edit room that were really not founded in anything tangible, only an inability to see the next steps before actually seeing them and hearing them. So what did I do? I started to evolve my workflow. What I started doing as an editor was removing the rough cut stage entirely. I went from nothing to fine cut because I had to deal with clients with less than extraordinary creative capabilities. As part of this, I began implementing my own sound design work into my edits. Sound effects, room tones, atmosphere, music mixing, looping, music, everything. One thing that I did often fear from using these sound libraries, both then and now, and especially now, is that they are so universal. Many times I'd be sitting at home watching a film or commercial and hear a sound effect and think, oh yeah, I've got that one. That's Bird's track 212. And you know what? That kind of makes me cringe as an editor and as an audience member because I don't want the average viewer to hear the same dog bark in The Avengers and then again in a murder mystery on something I'm cutting. Anything that takes a viewer out of the escapism of a film should be concerning and thought through. My approach to sound design and sound effects has kind of become well known now, because I have such an attention to detail and a mastery of the craft. What I do is I treat sound effects like they are its own symphony. Rarely do I use one track or one file to make a singular sound. My secret is to take what is common and accessible, those library sounds, and manipulate them so thoroughly that the chance of someone else recreating them in the same way is nearly impossible. So, what are some of the things that I change? Pitch. It's often used and thought of only for vocals, but I am constantly changing the pitch of my sound effects. Speed. I'm slowing things down, speeding things up, and sometimes even reversing them. Have fun. Play with your sound effects. If you don't try it, how do you know what you're going to get? I also use a lot of delay and reverb filters. Adding echo or stretching clips transforms these generic sounds. Now, you might also think right off the bat, that using those type of effects is going to make things sound, spooky or kind of paranormal. And sometimes they do, but many times it just makes the sounds linger or last longer. And even in a film that might be a drama where you're not trying to be spooky or spectacular, it just adds a thickening layer to that sound and it works. Trust me on this. Another thing I do a lot is layering. A dog barking in my film, that's usually created from 5 different dogs at 5 different speeds, volumes, and manipulations. And also, this takes time. It is a craft. Remember, think symphony. Also, think about the human perception. It's not perfect. What we think we perceive and what we actually do perceive are often two very different things. That imperfection is a space for creative ingenuity. With that comes my workflow philosophy. While creating, my timeline is chaotic. There's no order, it's just building sounds. I care only about the relative volume. Voice to sound effects to music, music to atmosphere. Later is when I will go back and tweak my volumes. Once I find these organic, original sounds, I organize everything meticulously. Sound effects goes on certain tracks. Music has their own tracks. Dialogue, VO, and ADR, separate tracks. Atmosphere and room tone, layered accordingly. Even sometimes I will go as far as putting high-pitch and low-pitch sounds grouped together and on consistent tracks. Why? Because when I send this all to my re-recording mixer, I am making his life easier and simpler, and I'm saving time and I'm saving money of him trying to figure out this chaotic blend of sound effects that I have basically everywhere. It's my job to be kind of nuts and crazy in the alchemy of it and then clean it all up when I'm handing it off to the next person. I do leave panning alone, especially in my 5.1 surround mixes. That goes to the re-recording mixer, but the creation of sound, what used to be the job of the Foley artist, I now embrace completely as an editor and I recreate in a very modern way. Many people might ask, if you're going to go to all this trouble of making new sounds by this alchemy of kind of mixing and playing around with all these tracks, why not just record new Foley yourself? And my answer is simple, it's time and budget. No one I've worked with has ever had the resources to do extensive new Foley recordings. But it doesn't stop me from creating original, unique sounds and my own sound design in my own way for these projects. Sound design and Foley are more than technical skills. They're a craft, they're a symphony, and they're a way to make a film alive and different. Every sound matters. Every layer counts. And originality, that's what makes a project truly immersive. I hope you enjoyed this Tuesday tip. Please remember to like, share, and follow us on social media or visit our company site at www.redlinestudios.net.